Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kirsten Hall with Fox Pointe Publishing. I am the co-publisher of this fine company, Chelsea Barr being the other person. We are sitting this afternoon with Raven Eckman, editor extraordinaire with our company. Matter of fact, we have heaped a lot of stuff onto Raven. She's doing an excellent job, so we are very happy that we all found each other. But we are doing introduction interviews for the company. We've got about 12 or 13 people that are with us right now, and we are expanding. We cover all genres, all types of genres. And we're busy and we're having fun, and it's a good group of people. So we are bringing all of us to all of you out in internet land, and we are starting off with Ray today on her interview. Ray, if you want to say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Well, there you go. That's the end of the interview. No, I'm kidding.
Ta-da.
Yay! Anyway, all right. She has got a few questions for me to ask her. So this is kind of like reality TV, but scripted. Can you imagine? Anyway,
Shake some minds.
I know it is. Anyway, all right. So we're going to start off with the first question, and we will go from there. All right. First of all, she is the owner of a business called A New Look on Books. And so my question to you is, what is the story behind your business name?
So, A New Look on Books actually started as a book blog when I was a senior in college because I didn't have enough to do. I had been on a break and met up with a local author, and we were just talking everything books and writing. And in passing, I mentioned wanting to be a part of the book community more and having a blog because I saw all these awesome reviews and critiques and everything like that. So, she had actually asked me, "So, what's stopping you?" And I could have gone into what I kind of flustered and answered her and what I remember what was stopping me, but I just did it. I launched my blog. I picked the name A New Look on Books to be cute and clever because my reviews were my new look on books. So I was like, "Oh, A New Look on Books, perfect." So later when my business was taking shape, A New Look on Books was just perfect in terms of for an editing company, and it continues.
It's a very good name on it. All right. And yeah, I will point out to anyone who ever wonders if an editor is a good idea. It is. It's an
Thank you.
excellent idea. Oh, you're welcome. And especially to authors who are like, no, 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 I got it covered and I can edit it. Two things. One, many extra pairs of eyes are a good thing. And two, usually with an author editing their own book, you're too close to the story. So definitely. Can you think of any other reasons besides extra pairs of eyeballs and being too close?
I can definitely attest to being too close for my own personal experience. It just helps to come back with somebody that you don't have any connection with because they're not going to tell you, "Oh my gosh, it's amazing," and it's not, or "It needs work but it doesn't." Like, you really need an outside perspective to be like, "Okay, so this is what I'm seeing, this is what happens when I read it, what I get from it," and then really deciding there if it connects with how you want your story to go, or maybe you have a whole different route that takes place then.
Yep, that is very true. All right, the next one. Can you tell us about any writing projects you've got going on?
So currently, I do have a few projects in the works. Most are outlines with the exception of two picture books, and I have a young adult new age novel that I am either querying or will be querying this year. The picture books I had done in college and recently touched up, and the new adult, young adult, dark fantasy that I have was something that I've been working on for the past 5 years, and I finally finished it after 8 rewrites.
I know that feeling.
Yes.
With I've got two novels and one memoir myself, and ranging anywhere from 49,000 words to 98,000 words, each book.
Hmm.
And yeah, psyching yourself out of like, no, 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 this isn't right. No, 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 no. So I understand that.
Exactly.
All right. And then I will say from the author's point of view, which I'm sure you will experience, is like, oh, is it good enough to put in front of an editor? So yeah, I definitely understand that. What is your editor origin story?
So before I began editing, I had to find my love of reading and writing, which at first I hated. I was not excited for English in school, elementary school. I just kind of spark noted and saw any little kind of alternate that I could get the projects done to make sure they were good. So after I graduated from high school, or actually not high school, my apologies. After I graduated from elementary school and was going into high school, picture an angsty Raven, like 13 years old, afraid of growing up. You got it. So I was moping for the first few days, and my grandmother challenged me to read a book a day, thinking it would take my mind off of things. And I haven't looked back since. I cheated at first with the read a book a day, like really tiny novels, like comics I thought I could get away with. But eventually I really dived into that world. And after discussing with a former elementary school principal, my last year actually at the elementary school, who was an author and publisher, I went with it. I launched my business, and it'll be 2 in June.
Oh,
So I have
very
high hopes
cool.
for everything. Oh,
Very
and then a fun fact: my very first story I actually wrote was a spin-off of Twilight.
okay. Very
Yep.
cool. Well, congratulations on the soon-to-be 2-year-old company. How
Thank
very
you.
cool is that? Time goes fast, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, yeah. I no kidding there. And actually, you know about the fact that I always used Cliff Notes growing up too. I mean, reading was not my gig, and I've told you that in the past. But the other thing that was never my thing, especially when you mentioned blogging, I remember in 8th grade English, our teacher wanted us to keep a journal. Oh, I never did diaries. I can't keep a journal. To this day, I can't keep a journal. All I think to myself is, what do I do? Well, I work. So, okay, page flipped. Oh, look, I work again. So, I mean, it was just never anything I could put in there. But boy, I tell you, I get a story stuck in my head and it just goes. And I sit down and I can pound it out within 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah. I
And
actually never got into diary or journaling myself. I have a nasty habit of buying like really pretty leather bound journals and then
uh-huh.
thinking they're too pretty to actually write in. So then I just keep them to admire them and think I should write in them, but I don't. So then I buy the like 99-cent notebooks and scribble
Hmm.
all through that. And then it makes perfect sense to me when I actually sit down to type it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good to know that there's another person just like me in the world. I have a whole shelf right over there, has the beautiful leather bound, you know, locks and keys and straps and
Italian
they're
made. Yep.
oh, they're beautiful. And I walk up to the shelf in the store and I'm like, I deserve this. And then I quick do the quick checkout before I can have any second thoughts. And I run out to the car and I get in the car and I drive away and it's like, yay. And then I look at it going, what if I make a mistake? Okay. And then I put it on my book. So they're all over there. Right. So I,
Yeah, it feels horrible to even attempt to cross something out. And
mhm,
then if you try to white it out, then it doesn't really match the picture or the color of the page anymore. So then it's just
yep.
ruined. Yep.
We're a lot alike. All right. Do you have a specific writing style?
I'm not sure I would have a specific writing style or say I have one, but I've been dabbling more and more in first person narrative. I just love the connection that it gives me. There are quirks in terms of figuring out the rest of the other characters and revealing plot twists and so forth, but it really gives me that connection to my main character and inside their head and how they're feeling and so forth.
All right. Do you find that you do a lot of dialogue driven stuff?
Yes and no. I've actually, when I first started, I was very flowery when it comes to scenes and describing my scenes. So the more I actually got into first person, the more it kind of flushed out dialogue, but it didn't take away too much. I do struggle with more of a like a thought, like an internal thought, and like how I have, well, this is what my character's thinking, but this is what they do out loud. but
Hmm.
weaving it into so it doesn't just completely separate in itself.
Hmm. Yeah. Chelsea, who is also another editor, um, she comes after me so much. I don't do a lot of description of the scenes,
Okay.
but then of course, two of my books take place in a coffee shop. So I am assuming people know what the inside of a coffee shop looks like, or use your imaginations. But yeah, Chelsea comes after me with that stuff. And so, but yeah, I'm very dialogue driven. As you can tell, apparently I can't be quiet. I'm good at it. Anyway, yeah, anyone who watches this and knows me will be like, mm-hmm.
Mhm.
All right, next question. Do you find it hard to write your own stories as an editor? And then the second part, do you find it difficult to turn off your editing brain?
So I can never turn off the editor brain or the editor side. I even notice when I'm reading that I can't turn it off because I'd really get into the story, but then something would be catch my attention and be, well, we could have done it that way or it could have been this way. I'm way more critical of my own work. Lots and lots of rewrites, a lot of muttered no's, and then just kind of an angry, like looking at the wall and being like, "What was I thinking?" as I read over a text. So that happens as I go. And then yet, as an editor with each and every project I have the opportunity to work with, it just exposes to me so many wonderful worlds, and I love seeing the authors grow and feel more confident with their own stories. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So if I can't turn the editor off, we're just working with it.
I know the feeling. And actually, back in school when I didn't want to do a lot of reading, or even now if I'm doing technical reading, if, or I will sit there and I will wind up just naturally sliding into editor brain myself
Hmm.
when I'm supposed to be enjoying the text or getting some great meaning out of it. Usually business related texts and brochures, pamphlets. I mean, anything. I will write to the Minnesota Department of Revenue and go, you're missing a comma there.
Yep.
I'm sure that probably will red flag me for possible, audits in the future, but
You're on the
annoying.
list now.
Yeah, now I'm on the list. I've made someone mad over the IRS. So anyway, all right, next question. Do you remember the first book you read?
That's a hard one. It's kind of like asking what's your favorite book, and then you listening to somebody read off like this list that they have compiled and losing them pretty much halfway because you just get too many words thrown at you. I would say my first one would be Percy Jackson, so The Lightning Thief. I just love the story. I was pulled in right away. I connected. Definitely wish there was Camp Half Blood I could attend. And when the new series, or well, I guess the spin off series came out with the original characters as well, first in line to get my copy. Didn't care that I was with a bunch of younger kids or teenagers. I held my copy with pride as I stood in line.
And now I know the story that you read the longest Harry Potter within one day, but tell us about getting your copy of that. That's pretty cool.
So I actually my local library that I had volunteered with when I was in high school and then later interned with when I was in college had a release party for it. So they had a local bookstore that came in and we kind of did Harry Potter quizzes and we had some themed snacks. And at midnight, well, approaching midnight, they took us to the store and they took us into the basement. So now down going through the basement and down the stairs, they had some trees and they had like the shadows and lanterns lit and like really set even like candles in the lanterns rather than just an electric lantern, really set the mood. So then we come into like this empty space in the basement with just this large black chest sitting there. Open it up, there's our copies. Pick the copy up, started reading it in the car. So I actually don't remember if I said thank you or not. I might have opened the book when I got the copy put in my hand. Was reading it in the car, reading it when I got home, fell asleep on it or it fell asleep on me. I'm not sure. We can go either way. Woke up with it kind of like sticking to my face and then kind of regrouped because I wasn't sure what had happened or where I had left off. Picked up and finished reading. So then after I finished the book that day, I don't really know what happened that day because I was having a book hangover with that and then sleep deprived. But that normally happens. You get really involved in a book,
Oh, yeah.
really excited about a release, and you just don't do anything else but read the book and then realize it was either the end or you have to wait another year for the next book.
Oh, I know. I know.
And then you kind of cry a little bit because you don't know how you're going to survive for another year, even though you've done it before.
That's like 364 whole days.
You're like, all right, I will start the calendar marking now. Yep.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I thoroughly understand. Matter of fact, with my work schedule and how much I work, if I do happen to actually sit, I've got 1,700 books in this house, okay? And I mean, all the
I'm
way
jealous.
from, oh my gosh, I have books. From new releases all the way back, I think my oldest book is about 200 plus years old. I collect older books as well, and
Wow.
we
Okay.
don't touch those because you pick them up, and they'll
Hmm.
probably just dissolve with the air current blowing through the
Yeah,
house.
don't sneeze or breathe heavy around it.
Just 10 feet away. Oh,
Hmm.
look at that. Um, but when I do pick up a book and I get into it, and I will know within 5-10 minutes if it's going to happen or if I'm just going to go right back to work. But if I get into it, I write off the rest of the day and I slam through it in about 5 or 6 hours, if
Hmm.
it's longer, 8 hours. Because if I don't get back to it, it's going to go in my stack of things to finish reading, which is about, that high
Hmm.
or more. Do you have a stack of things that you mean to
I
get to?
do. I have the ones that I bought because I thought the covers were pretty. Because I admit I was at one point a cover buyer where if it looked cool, I had to own it.
Yep.
And then I spiraled off to recommendations or authors that were similar. And then I spiraled off to creating the list instead of buying the books right away, creating the list then to get on hold at like the library or to buy later eventually. So then I have like random stacks that I had started reading and didn't finish because it didn't quite gather my attention. Stacks that I want to read, stacks that were like an anticipated, and then a list that I've remade like 8 times because I always lose it.
Mhm.
So it's just I'm never going to actually get through my to be our read list.
Probably not. And I would imagine that we're probably part of the reason that maybe those lists are being delayed. I would.
Exactly, which gives you a nice feeling like you kind of want to apologize, but then at the same time be like, haha.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and thank you. And then probably like every, I don't know, 30 days you should take 2 days. So every 15 days, take one day. Don't answer any of our emails. Don't, you could do like a return email. I'm reading. Go away. Chelsea would be like, what's going on? I'd be like, oh, I totally forgot to tell you.
Yeah, she's taking a mental read day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's good for her brain
yeah.
and her list. Anyway, all right. Is there one person, past or present, you'd love to meet and why?
I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of authors, and I hope to do so more when the conventions and author signings restart. There's a handful of actors, Jensen Ackles specifically, that I would love to meet. But I'm going to have to say for this one, it would be the Grimm brothers. I just would want to pick their mind about their fairy tales. I had done a paper for them for my senior thesis on three of their fairy tales and how it was a way for them to explain mental illness to the common folk and then just younger children in general. I kind of want to know if I'm right. And then if I'm not right, I want to know what inspired it rather than like just not knowing. But then there's the fun in not knowing. So just meeting them would be cool. Like I'll just go with that.
Mhm.
Like, yes, I want to meet them.
It would be awesome, actually. All right. And then the last question is, do you have a blog or a website readers can visit for updates, events, and special offers?
So I have both. My website is the go to for everything in terms of updates. I'm active on my blog with a lot of promotions and interviews and guest posts, which is called Bookish Looks now. And I am on Twitter and Instagram. I've been lax lately. I will work on it because I promise I'm there and I want to talk about books and I want to fangirl and I just want to make my to be read list even longer.
Okay, you said the words, well, the words fangirl.
Yes.
Explain.
So when I first started getting into the book community, I saw like fangirl, fanboy around a lot, or just general just general fangirling. So I didn't really know what that meant and how extensive that is, but the fandom is a very strong community. So depending on what your TV, movie, character, book, the fandom is there and they are
Well,
waiting for you. And you can cosplay, you can create fan fiction, which I adore reading fan fiction. I actually have dabbled in writing fan fiction that are
oh, very
just for
cool.
me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the fan fiction that I was like, that's just my ode to my character and my love for them.
All right. And so now I know that you have been to one cosplay convention.
I've been to BookCon for the past. This would have been my 4th year.
Oh, okay.
So I cosplayed my very first year, and I went as Katniss because somebody told me that I look like Katniss.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if it's true or not, but I definitely went with it. Braids, black leather, black clothing,
Mhm.
and I would love to do another cosplay. I have no idea at this point who I would go as because there's a lot of options out there. But if an opportunity presents itself, I will be there.
Yeah, there, like I think I've mentioned to you in the past, I have a lot of friends who, well, when the conventions are going on,
Hmm.
Des Moines, Minneapolis has got a huge one. I think Madison, Wisconsin, Chicago, and their outfits are incredible. I mean, just incredible.
Hmm.
I can't even get it together on Halloween for. So I mean, what people put together is just incredible.
Oh yeah,
Um, I mean, I've got friends who have turned blue and purple. I mean, not like turned blue, but I
understood.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, make sure I figured that. But yeah, I mean, they look incredible. Wow. So yeah, I applaud you for that because like I said, I can't even, 5 p.m. on October 31st rolls around. It's like, oh my gosh, I forgot to buy candy and I don't I don't even have a sheet I could put over me. I mean, so
Yep.
I
Well, I
work.
dress the dog up on Halloween, so he's
Uh-huh.
like my partner in crime. So whatever I am, he's like by default the sidekick. So I'm pretty sure if I forgot a Halloween to dress up as, he would be perfectly okay with it.
Oh, I'm sure he probably would.
But I mean, I can't disappoint him. He just needs it.
Well, exactly. It's good for him. There you go.
It's his morale.
Yeah, exactly. He pulled it off November 1st. You can feel really good about it.
Exactly. He has
Look
pictures to
back.
show all his grandkids.
Yeah, look back at the Facebook pictures. It'll be great.
Exactly.
Anyway, all right. So those are all the questions I have for you.
Okay.
Can you think of anything else you would like to add?
Nope. I think I got my nerd on. Got some fangirling in there. Talked about editing. Like I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, fabulous. All right. To everyone out in internet world, thank you again for joining us for this introduction interview. We've got, probably about 10 more to do, I think. And yeah, and while the books are coming out, our authors are going to be introducing their books and showing what's coming up. And we have all sorts of things planned for this YouTube channel. So please click subscribe somewhere. I have always wanted to do this in the box below, or I don't know where the subscribe button is. So
There's a box.
there's a box and it says subscribe in it. So click that and that would be great. Anyway, but thank you so much for joining us this afternoon and have a fabulous day in your neighborhood. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone. It was a
Bye.
pleasure.